Welcome to the Intercut podcast channel, where we are recapping some of the most notable premieres out of the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. I'm your co-host, Zachary Shevich, joined by my co-host, Arturo Zarita, and living out back in the garden shed, it's Amanda the Jedi. We are talking about the film, The Wedding Banquet.
It's homophobic, Zach.
Wedding Banquet.
It's literally this much funnier than it is homophobic. So
well, you know what? I feel like this movie is homophobic enough, so we will get into that and we'll go.
What a start. The Wedding Banquet is about a pair of couples who are also best friends. After Chris refuses to get a green card marriage to Min, Min proposes to Angela in exchange for paying for her partner Lee's IVF treatment. However, their plans are thrown for a loop when Min's grandmother surprises them and demands an extravagant Korean wedding ceremony. The Wedding Banquet stars Bowen Yang, Lily Gladstone, Marie Tran, Han Ji-chan, Joan Chen, Youn Yuh-jung, and it's directed as well as co-written by Andrew Ahn, and it is a remake of the famous Ang Lee film of the same name. Art, what did you think about this latest film from the filmmaker behind Driveways and Fire Island, two movies we really enjoy?
Fire Island was like a great way to go mainstream. Driveways we're always recommending, beautiful. This isn't Driveways. It is a little bit more mainstream than Fire Island. I had a good time with it, a lot better than I expected it to. There were moments where I was like, whoa, now you guys are reaching the level I expected. And the rest of it is like a really good time. I feel like I'm the middle child between the both of you right now, so I'll have to mitigate.
Trust me, I know I'm the outlier. This isn't me saying like everyone's wrong. This is me saying, you know.
We went into this one assuming it was going to be big. Because it was, right? I don't know if you got your thing, Zach, but like they were already pushing it on Vanity Fair.
It's on
there's a trailer out. This is a movie that's already got a lot of motion coming to it. It's a remake of a famous film. And with that, you can tell why it's like, you know, it's character actors almost being very mainstream. And there's like a funniness to that like works, or I could see it being a pushback to some people.
Yeah, it's a little strange to see Lily Gladstone in this mode. One that I'm really happy to see her like good. Not devastated emotionally in a movie for a change. But
hey, look, this episode's brought to you by Theraflu. I'm super sick, but it sounds like Amanda got more sick thoughts. Hit him with it.
I don't know. Maybe we let Zach get his thoughts out of the way, and then because my thoughts my biggest issue is a plot point issue. So I feel like we have to like get to a plot point issue. So I feel like we'll do the build
Has anyone seen the original? Because I got that queued up, but okay.
Yeah. It's very different in that like that entire side story that has like the Lily Gladstone and Marie Tran is not a thing. He's marrying someone who needs a green card.
So they add complications to the other people, the other couple.
He owns an apartment, I think, something like that. So it is technically still a tenant, not an apartment, but it's like he's marrying one of his tenants who needs a green card. The conflict is still that he's gay.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, in the original?
What?
In the original?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay,
that's
I
why
that.
It was such.
I thought that's what they were adding for. Okay.
No. They're adding the in vitro fertilization lesbian couple, which I think is actually my least favorite part of one of my least favorite parts of the story.
Every time in vitro lesbian couples come up on screen, Amanda.
Not even if it had been just. I don't know. I think it's more just like. Again, sorry, Zach. We'll let you go, but it's just like me and Art had the same conversation. The stuff with Min and the grandmother, perfect.
Bro. Unbelievably
the
good.
Stuff where they had the blueprint, perfect.
Yeah, so like this is a movie that in some ways falls into like a pretty traditional rom-com setup in that like there is a grand hoax at the center of it. There's this impulse to try and like deceive relatives in order to get away with something that is very much in the tradition of like lots of great films in the genre. And I think like to an extent, I was a little bit nervous about some elements of that. And then there's this whole element of like the grandmother showing up where you're worried that it's going to be a constant thing of them trying to you know, skirt around saying the thing. And it ends up not being so much about the deception.
Cool. It's not.
As it is just about like putting on a front and there's like this greater warmth to all the characters, and that's really the thing that I responded to. Is I thought this was like a really like overwhelmingly warm movie about getting along and finding a way to overcome differences, and also it did it with a lot of humor. I think this is a really great set of performances here. Like Bowen Yang, I prefer him in this mode so much more over his work on SNL. Like I think there's just
good
like
for him, dude. Good for him.
He fits into like a real kind of world much better when he kind of can like tone down some of his like comedic heightenedness,
surprisingly,
and feel like a more real person. Kelly Marie Tran is really great here.
It took me a while.
Like,
y'all had to explain a joke to me that I was like, wow, I didn't think they would go there.
Yeah, kind of in this like slacker sort of role of sorts.
Oh, through and through, yeah.
We mentioned Lily before. It's great to see her kind of, you know, like having a good time for a change.
Yeah.
But I think the people who really steal this one are the mother figures, Joan Chen and Youn Yuh-jung, who are just so excellent here. Joan Chen particularly is so funny her like over the top like performative acceptiveness.
Yeah, performative allyship for sure.
There is no reason why Joan Chen, due respect to Mr. Chen, was the most. It was out of the whole cast. Put him to shame. It wasn't even close. And shout out to the what's his name? Bowen's husband.
Min. Han Ji-chan.
Yeah.
Or
you know,
also
very...
Yeah. You know, he was taking some swings here and there, but honestly, he was the one who knew the tone of the movie. Sometimes I felt like for Kelly and for...
I agree,
what's her name? Like, Lily... Even sometimes Bowen, it's almost like they were trying to do a more serious movie in the realm of a rom-com.
Too sentimental, too cheesy.
Han was a cartoon character.
And he would come in. Yeah, like literally the second he sits down at like the very fancy building in his suit to have the meeting with the grandmother. Yeah.
Which, for a while, I thought, wow, Yoon's really going to be doing everything across a laptop. She's just going to be Skyping in, and she's already mopping everybody. I believe the trailer kind of shows you a little bit more, but easily the scenes with Yoon, you know, Oscar winner for a reason, a legend for a reason. Mm-hmm. There is a scene that I think is worth the price of admission. After that scene, I was like, I cannot give this a negative review in any way, shape, or form. But I did want a little bit more of the relationship drama to just be more cohesive with the comedy sometimes. Mm-hmm. But Amanda, without spoiling too much, because obviously the adaptation adds extra elements, what's the warning?
When I say be gay, do crimes, I don't mean infidelity.
So theft, murder.
Depending on who we're murdering.
All forgivable.
Well, what if it depends on who we're cheating on?
No, because then you just break up with them.
Okay.
You know,
I gotta get the rules in order.
I don't know what I can say. There's literally a thing that is like actually just a huge.
It crosses a line.
I'm just going to talk a couple things that I have structural issues with. For one, every single conflict that happens in this movie is teased early on too obviously to the point that it's like, are you fucking kidding? You didn't have to set it up. You didn't have to, you could have just introduced it. Two, I disagree with anything that puts it out there that if you're drunk enough, anyone's bisexual. Because I'm not. You know? And I felt, and you had the two characters that were like the gayest of gay presenting in the movie. Having that happen twice? When in college, sure, you're figuring yourself out, but when you are like...
There's an unspoken thing in that moment, but speaking it would also be a big spoiler.
Type it. I need to understand. Type it. I don't care.
It's an interesting debate. I actually think this is kind of intriguing. It's true.
Or do we just cut things out?
I think it's an interesting approach to it because it is going to make people uncomfortable. Will the reality of it, would people be able to see it and be like, that would never happen in a million years? Maybe. But I was a little confused about that.
I just don't think we're... And I get it, it's not filmmakers' jobs to do this, but in this type of movie where I don't think it's going for a lot of nuance in certain areas, I just feel like it's still so easy for people to dismiss gay and queer relationships that I just don't think I need it happening. And I think it's more how much it's just washed over. It kind of becomes nothing, and then it becomes a bigger conflict down the line after Kelly's character has asked her partner to do something so incredibly taxing that changes her life forever. knowing she did something that could change her desire to be in that situation anymore. That bothered me, and they never deal with it. They just
feel that
wash over.
conflict was approached just so they could get to another part of the plot that they needed to.
I think there's just too much going on for a movie. I think it's too many. I think that they tried to split the focus way too much between too many different characters and too many different styles. Like I think if they had given this like a limited series, they probably could have fleshed it out in a way that I'm like, that's cute, that worked, whatever. As a movie, I just felt like it started skirting around things too much and just kind of left me feeling like weird. I like literally this was the year that most of like the like strongest queer represented movies pissed me off in some way or like made me feel weird.
You were on a run, yeah.
I was on a run.
We had to tell her, leave your homophobia outside the Airbnb.
Outside. Literally, it was getting, but no, Zach's on my side with Jimpa, at least. He hates Jimpa even more.
That's where you guys come back, yeah.
And so like, I didn't walk out of this movie hating it because there were a lot of movies I found really funny. There were things I found really good. It's just I found that it was like, I really did not like the stuff going on with Lily Gladstone and Kelly Marie Tran. I don't know. It just like that stuff and it wasn't that they were trying to have a kid. That's fine. It was just, I don't know. Zach, you go.
Well, no, I mean, I think this is ultimately like
Oh, I know. I don't think it's actually a homophobic movie. I'm not, but it's just, as I've been talking to other people about it, we've had similar thoughts of like, that all feels really weird, right? Like that feels weird. That feels weird.
I think this is ultimately a movie that is kind of about radical understanding and acceptance.
I agree.
For people who you have these connections to, right?
Yeah.
And perhaps that pushes your like line of believability with certain characters' actions, and as you're saying, Amanda, like maybe like you need a fuller arc of acceptance than this movie has the runtime to facilitate. That wasn't my issue. I didn't really have that issue at all with it, but like I understand.
And most people aren't going to. I keep wanting to clarify. Like most people have walked away from this overwhelming me positively.
And it's also the kind of thing where like I would probably process all these things completely different if they happened in real life than if they happened within the confines of a movie that's going to end up on Hulu, right?
Yeah.
Like because this is like a Hulu movie, it's like, oh, it's so sweet. And if you do this
sweet.
my friend, I'd be like, fuck you.
I just couldn't take sweet. I think that's the thing. I'm like seeing this happen. I'm like, dude, we're just gonna jump by that. I'd be like fucking crying in a pit now.
Like, yeah.
I'd be like,
this is being brought up forever.
Tragic Little Pill, Fiona Apple, like fucking Wonder Years. Like we're going in.
Yeah. Do you like it more than Driveways?
You know, I think I am more affected by Driveways. I think Driveways is more artful, but I think that there is, because we've mentioned this is kind of like a mainstream skewing comedy, and I think there's like just a lot of really funny scenes in a way that I think this is going to be like a breakthrough film of sorts for Andrew Ahn. So
Fair.
I don't know if I would necessarily say it's better, but I do think it's going to be like a more widely loved film than anything he's made before.
I can agree with that.
Have you seen Driveways?
I prefer Driveways.
I want to see him back in that Driveways mode.
I like that a lot.
That subtle, like, very indie.
I think the other thing, tonally, me and Art were talking about it after we watched something after this, and then we were talking about it.
I think it was Opus, bro.
It was Opus, but I do think there's just like a tone to Wedding Banquet that to me just got like maybe even a little bit too cheesy. It's like
too saccharine.
Is it Oscars worthy?
That's the word. I
because
fucking hope not.
That's what I thought we were going to see, an Oscar-worthy movie. I thought we were going in with The Big Sick. I thought we were going to get something like that was going to have ripple effects all the way throughout. This is just a mainstream movie.
It feels a
Zach
good
saying the
streaming
Hulu bit?
movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is it is good there. Like I said, like this isn't a movie I'd never like, it isn't a movie that I would avoid for the rest of my life. I don't think it's terrible. It's just there's aspects about it that like really just I didn't connect with and like almost reverse connected with just because of my own experiences in the community. I walked away from this festival being like, do I even belong anywhere?
I feel there is a trend. Will and Harper got that last year where because it was so mainstream for non-trans people, where people were kind of bashing that one. I feel like anytime an LGBTQ movie that hits the mainstream, that's when the community itself goes, oh, it's left us. Almost like a hipster mentality of like, oh no, it's getting too big. But that could almost be a good thing. Because while it's not for the community, it's those people who may have not heard those stories that it's now reaching.
I agree with that. And I think Will and Harper was a really good introduction to that. Helen Harper actually does deal with issues of like a partner in a queer relationship struggling because of things happening in their childhood, maybe, some infidelity. I felt it dealt with it. I'm not walking away from that being like, I can't, but like, I'm not against infidelity in movies. It's just the way it was played out here and like not kind of just danced over.
Carol, good infidelity, bad infidelity. Go.
Good. It's like my old ass. You can't go the other way.
No, Carol's always my one because it's like I agree with you, but I see it and I'm like, damn, you're making me re-question everything. Run away with Kate.
No, that's what I mean. There's so many movies that are like that. Like literally one of the most iconic lesbian movies is Imagine Me and You. And it's literally on her wedding day, she meets someone and like the husband is the nicest. Yeah, to the florist. She meets the florist who is Lena Headey. So I get it. But it's the husband's so nice. And
What's
I kind of like that they
movie?
Don't Imagine Me and You. It's really
Is this
sweet.
the one where they're holding hands
on the poster? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great poster.
Yeah, but I feel like they
Mexico.
do. Yeah, there you go. But I feel like they do at least kind of like run that out. They don't feel the need to like, make somebody. I do appreciate that like they don't need to make anybody a villain in this movie. The same way they don't really do it in Imagine Me. It's like everybody can kind of have like their room for mistakes and growth. I just felt like they needed more of the growth stage for me to come out the other side feeling okay about what I just saw.
Look at the letterbox for Imagine Me and You. Look at the gaze.
Look at the gaze.
Watch the gaze work.
Look at that. Look at the regular curve and then the fives.
I know. It's funny though because the second guy on that poster is not ever a romantic interest, so he's just there to make it look more dramatic.
Wow,
but...
what a throwback! Damn.
But yeah, no, it is. It's a fave.
That's great. Let's go back to 1993's original Wedding Banquet.
Yeah.
So you recommend the original?
Yeah, I think it's especially it came out in 1993. It was actually, and maybe it just like they felt like they needed to just. I almost this movie felt like they wanted to pack so much in to be like we are going so much like this was already genre defining and we're gonna
modernize it to a degree.
And I get it, and I get that. I think it is good to kind of like introduce more modern issues where it's not just marriage; it's also like family building and what that can look like, and whether or not marriage actually needs to happen, or and
which
for
I think the director had a lifelong partner where they started contemplating, do we really need to do that extra step when we're already committed to each other? Right. And I think it's one of those movies where hearing him discuss it more, I was more intrigued with it. I like those discussions that I feel the movie kind of has, but he really got into it after the fact. I also I like the idea of like you have people hiding secrets from people who they don't realize are also hiding secrets. Yeah. And it's once you open up on that you really start having that connection with people. And without getting into more spoilers and stuff, there were very heartwarming moments that I do think make it worth the watch.
Yeah, I think it's worth checking out. Like, this isn't when I'm walking away being like, this is a total waste of time. I think I gave it a 2.5, which is low for me. A 2.5 for me is that I think it's shit, kind of. Not shit, but it's just, it officially hits the point where I'm like, I don't like it.
If they like just sliver out that one subplot, you end up positive on the movie.
But without
like
that subplot,
probably
bro,
even,
I feel like that's,
No,
that gets
I don't
you to, like,
think,
the second half.
I don't actually think it needs to.
Hey, the moment I saw, what's his name? SNL.
Bowen?
The moment I saw Bowen almost full frontal, I get the tone of this movie. What a brave man. Let's go.
Yeah, I do. But again, even without that subplot, I already, while I was watching it, was like, I feel like the focus is too scattered for how much time we're going to have with these characters.
I felt that a little bit too.
I had almost the opposite in that, like, I felt like there was always something happening. Like, there was not really a lull or a dull moment.
Oh, there's no lull.
But I was characters like, all had conflict. Like, there was no like wife character, if you know what I mean.
I agree.
Just somebody who's there as just the wife.
I agree with that. I just felt like I wanted. I don't know. Every time I would bring up something,
you wanted more time if we're going to pack in all this story.
She wanted the wife.
All right, so. This is one of the Sundance movies that actually does not only have a release date, but a relatively early release date. We're getting this one in theaters on April 18th.
Wait, for real?
From Bleecker Street and Universal Pictures.
There you go.
That makes sense,
Amanda said she went 2.5. I think I'd go 3.5.
That makes sense. That's most people are at 3.5.
Yeah, Zach.
Actually, the highest rating scale on Letterboxd is currently a 4. It's a huge spike at the 4. So like, this is overwhelmingly positive. It's a 3.6 right now. It's overwhelmingly positive.
There's a scene that almost made me go to the 4, and if it was more of that, I would have been very happy. But hey, I'd still give it a 3.5. Worth the matinee in the theater.
Probably at a 3.5, but I might even pop a heart on there. Who knows?
There you go. It's fine. Yeah, because like there are some really nice scenes, and again, most of them, in my opinion, have to do with like the grandmother and Min, or even the grandmother and Bowen. There's a really nice scene. I'm so interested by characters like that.
If the movie was just Joan Chen scenes,
that was true. Joan Chen's
5 stars.
She pops
all
out
very
a dragon.
After Dee Dee, come on, let's go. Yeah, she's the new Sundance queen.
Yeah, she's good. But yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so those are most of our thoughts. Not all of them, but most of them on The Wedding Banquet.
Good amount.
That's all mine.
I'm Zachary Shevich. That's Amanda the Jedi. That's Arturo Zarita. This is the Intercut podcast. We are talking about movies
Intercut
out of
Banquet.
Sundance and a lot of other stuff. So stay with us here on the Intercut podcast channel. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, remember, I don't want to be an American. The trains are so slow and I don't know when to tip.
I loved him so much.